Acupuncture is used all around the world and can treat a wide variety of conditions in animals. But should you pursue acupuncture treatment for your pet? That's the question we'll answer on today's Paw Report, so stay with us.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Paw Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Paw Report. I am your host, Kelly Goodwin, and we're so thrilled that you're joining us for this episode of the Paw Report. Very interesting subject matter today, and we are joined by Dr. Loukia Agapis from the University of Illinois. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We are talking about veterinary acupuncture, and we're going to answer loads of questions about that, as I'm sure our viewers out there will want to know about that. But first, tell us about yourself and your background in veterinary medicine.
Sure. Well, I have kind of a unique background, very different from other colleagues at the university. I was born and raised in Connecticut, but after I finished high school, I had this really huge yearning to go to Greece. My family is from there. So I felt it was something I had to do. I wanted to go get to know my grandparents more, my cousins. These are people I didn't have much exposure to growing up. And I told my parents, I'm just gonna go. Unfortunately, to get into vet school in Greece, it's a bit different than here. We don't go through 4 years of a bachelor's. We go through this intense MCAT kind of test at age 18. So I had to really prepare myself. I did a lot of private tutoring in chemistry and bio, all the sciences to take this. And by some miracle, I swear it was a miracle, because I had to be examined in Greek. And my Greek is not what it is today in these topics. I passed. So I got into their vet school, and it's a 5-year program. Most people finished in 5 to 8 years because we do our internship during that time as well. And yeah, so that was really, really a difficult time. And while I was there, I was fortunate enough, because I had the best English in my school, they gave me the opportunity to be an ambassador and go to international veterinary conferences. I became involved with the International Veterinary Student Association, and I arranged student exchange programs for students visiting Greece, for Greek students going abroad, and it was wonderful. I got to meet a lot of different people in the profession. I got to better my own hand skills, and all that kind of led to where I am today. Through my trips, I got to work with homeless animals all over the world, and I formed this passion for really wanting to make a difference in their life. One of the problems that we have when we do this type of work is we don't have much money. Mm-hmm. Funds and resources, people, they're always limited. And when I returned to the US to continue my education, I did a master's in shelter medicine. I saw even here in the US, where we have a plethora of resources, and I feel the American people are just such good-hearted people. They always want to help the animal population, but even with that, there's always funding limitations. So in that search, I found acupuncture. And there's a lot of controversy with it, but I thought to myself, you know, a box of 100 acupuncture needles is roughly $5. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to lose anything. So that's how I got to where I am today. And in all that, I met my husband, and we decided to settle down in Champaign, and we love it. University of Illinois has been wonderful, and I'm very, very lucky to have this opportunity. At the college, I wear different hats. I run the junior surgery program, which is we bring in homeless animals from shelters every week, and we do diagnostics, we perform surgeries, any treatments those animals need. And then I switch to shelter medicine exclusively, where we go out with this large mobile surgical unit and go into Charleston or to Danville, anywhere where they need us to spay and neuter. And now I have become the coordinator of international programs. Thanks to what I did while in Greece, I have this position as well. So I wear 3 different hats.
You wear loads of hats.
Yes.
You are a very busy woman. Yes. Getting back to the veterinary acupuncture, which you mentioned it. What is it? You know, you said it's very controversial, and first of all, define what it is, and maybe the history of acupuncture and how it relates to pets.
Sure. In the way we have come to know it is acupuncture is a part of traditional Chinese medicine. With that, they use herbs, they use this technique, they use something called Tai Chi, which is a martial art, something very similar to how we see yoga. It's body movements that bring on health benefits. It just relaxes them. And I can't tell you much about the herbs. I can't tell you much about Tai Chi because that's not what I do. I could tell you about acupuncture to the best of my ability. It is a technique where we stimulate certain points in the body, typically with the insertion of very tiny, tiny, thin needles going through those points. And the history, that is a very long subject to talk about, but legend has it in China that when the Chinese army would go out with their military personnel, they had these horse priests, and they noticed that their lame horses, when they used arrows in certain points, they would kind of heal them. And they felt that attributed to their army's success. They had these horses that they could heal and they could bring out to the fields, and that's that. That today has been disputed. And there's historians out of Germany, other countries that are saying the points that the Chinese had, they also found similar points predating them in the Greek and Roman times. There's reports coming out of India that they were using acupuncture with elephants. So who knows? What I could tell you is, as far as we Americans are concerned, when President Nixon went to China, this was the first U.S. visit, I believe, and one of his assistants that were there saw acupuncture being done, tried it on herself, and she loved it. And because there was a lot of news coverage, because it was a very, very big political visit, Americans saw this and said, wow, what is that? And how could we do it? So acupuncture enthusiasts decided to start training, and they learned the human points, and they took those human points and they kind of transposed them to make animal points. So they looked at where things run along the human anatomical features, and they said, okay, if it's here in the humans, I think we could put it here in the cat, here in the horse. They did not use the original equine points as the Chinese do. They simply concentrated on the human ones, and now we use them for all sorts of animals.
That's what leads into my next question is, what are some of the general conditions that you see, especially in animals, that you would use acupuncture? There's a list of them.
Yes. When I did my training, I'll be honest with you, I remember my first day of veterinary school, let's say, they gave me this large binder with all the things that I could do with it. And I said, wow, that is going to take a lot of learning on my part. But since I am a veterinarian, especially in academia, I need to focus on things that are evidence-based. Wherever I see research, that is what I'm going to focus on. So I started doing some reading, and I saw in humans, we use it a lot for analgesia, pain control. Anyone that's going through chemo to make them feel more comfortable. So a lot of musculoskeletal conditions. I've read about, like, the NIH and World Health Organizations brought up stimulating pregnancies and this and that and this and that. So there's really a plethora of things. But when we look at the research, we see that we really don't know what is the best points to use at times, how many treatments to use. There's a lot of gray areas, and we're looking at it now. And that is one of my interest points. Actually, I would like to do more research on it, but I have done some, just trying to figure out for animals what we could really do. From my personal experience, I've had great luck with it in behavioral cases. A lot of arthritic patients that, are slowing down with age, they're just not as comfortable. So a lot of pain control, and a lot of behavioral cases for me. I've seen really, really good outcomes with it.
I think people want to know, does it hurt?
No.
I mean, when you're talking needles.
It is, and this is a difficult concept for me. To be honest with you, when I was learning it, I asked my husband, could I try it on him? And right away he goes, no, that's going to hurt. And so I took my cat. I thought to myself, okay, if I'm going to advocate for this for other people to use it, I'm going to try it on my cat. And my cat is very sassy. We all have to do what she wants us to.
She's the boss.
She is the boss. So I went to her and I was like, Cassie, let's try this. And I tried one that is meant to relax you. So I felt that should be my first one, and I put it in and she didn't react. I had read, and I did a few more, nothing. I had read that in people, sometimes they do feel like this dull sensation, but it goes away very, very quickly. And I could picture if there was ever a point that it may hurt, if someone that is not trained, because they are needles, if we went somewhere where there is a bony process, like my hand right now, let's say, we all know there's bones, there's not much skin, so someone that's not properly trained, if they take, because we are living in the world of Amazon and eBay, if they go out and they buy their own needles and decide to insert it, they probably don't know how deep to go, where to put it exactly. That I could imagine would hurt. So I would definitely stress, if you do have a pet and you want to try this out, make sure you are only going to a licensed veterinarian in order to make sure there's no discomfort to your pet and they can't cause any problems with those needles.
What about benefits to doing acupuncture?
Yes, I think the best benefit to acupuncture is their safety. It's from everything that I have seen and everything that I have studied, there really aren't side effects. The side effects that we have noticed, it's what I referred to earlier. People that were not properly trained, they decided to either try acupunctures on themselves, or it was someone that really didn't have much experience. They are the ones that have caused damage. The benefit is it's very, very low risk. The FDA now monitors, in order to sell acupuncture needles, they have to be sterilized, used only one time, so you can't get infection from them. And when considering just what we've seen, if I was to give you antibiotics, let's say, and when we know antibiotics could upset your tummy and this and that, and then I could tell you, although I would never take out antibiotics and use needles, and I could say, well, I'm going to put this little needle right here, but it won't upset your stomach, it won't do this. I'm sure you'll want to try it because there's such a low risk. So that, to me, is the greatest benefit of acupuncture.
If you have a patient that you're treating with acupuncture, is it a one treatment scenario, or does that client have to come back for multiple treatments?
Well, it depends, I guess, on the actual patient and what they're coming in for. If it's an acute problem, something that just happened to the dog was outside running, I don't know, stepped onto a thorn, we took the thorn out, but its paw still hurts. That is something that we could quickly just put a couple needles in to kind of soften the pain, and it will be fine. If it's a chronic problem like an osteoarthritic dog, that is going to be something that needs a little more time to work with the patient. We depending on how advanced the ailment is, we may need to do weekly treatments, we may need to go twice a week, and we would probably draw it out for a number of acupuncture treatments. So it really depends on what the patient.
On the patient. Can you use acupuncture in combination with other veterinary treatments?
Yes, absolutely. And I actually advocate it as adjunct therapy. As I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of treatments for dogs, especially that have behavioral problems, if they're barking a lot, if they're starting to growl, if they're not, if they're not doing what we want them to do, or in a shelter setting, if they're getting too stressed out, because it's not a very easy life for these animals to be in cages for most of their life. So that is stressful. I always tell the shelter workers, increase the exercise, increase toys for them, but in conjunction, could we also just try this? And it's adding to it. If I have a patient that has an infection, I'm still going to give the antibiotics, but I'm also going to do a couple points that will stimulate your immune system.
You mentioned using acupuncture with some animals that you've encountered in shelters, and you do a lot of shelter work in the shelter medicine program. How successful have you seen the use of acupuncture in your own work in shelters? That's a big, I know you light up when I say that, because that's been a very positive procedure for you.
Yes. Like I said, resources could always be very, very slim in a shelter setting. And there's a lot of times I'll tell the shelter, I need this, could we order this? And they look at me and they say, we don't have that and we can't get it. What could we do? And at that point is when I go to my needles. Of course, if the patient needs anything else, I'll always do it. But especially for pain management and behavioral cases, stimulating the immune system, I've had such great success. And I think the shelter workers really, really love it when I tell them, let me just go get my needles, because they know it's not going to cost anything. And everyone's really happy.
It may sound like a silly question, but is all acupuncture involve needles? Or can you do some other?
You could do some other things. Part of Chinese medicine with acupuncture, they do something called moxibustion, and they use this herb, I guess it's that they burn, and they take that and they put it to where those acupoints are. Now we're in 2018, we've kind of progressed and refined our methods. You could take lasers and put those up against the acupoints, and we've seen positive outcomes. When I'm in a rush and I don't have time to sit with the animal and put all my needles and let them cook, let's say, and do their thing, I inject vitamin B12 into those sites, and because the vitamin B12 solution is there a little longer, it continues to stimulate the points even after I leave. Other people just use their fingers and do acupressure, and now they've even come up with electroacupuncture, where you'll have your needles in and you connect these little cords and just put low frequency electricity, and that gives you an even bigger result.
So it sounds like the whole process is evolving.
It is.
And continues to evolve. As we conclude our discussion here today, I'd like to hear, you've treated probably thousands of animals in your career, some success stories in the last couple of minutes here. What are some of the clients that you remember most that stick out to you? Maybe it's a shelter animal, maybe it's another client that's came in, maybe it's a young student that you've had the chance to work with.
Well, I could tell you, because again, I'm trying to be as research-based as I can be. Last summer, I started this study where I would look at shelter cats entering the shelter, and I would take them and do just one treatment with acupuncture. And these are cats that were unfortunately in a nice home, everything great. Maybe their owners moved away, maybe their owners passed away, and for one reason or another, the owners could no longer have those cats. And they're all of a sudden found in the shelter environment alone without the people that they know. Their stress level goes up. And we know studies have shown that once a cat's stress level increases to that point, their immune system drops. And once that happens, we see upper respiratory infections. We see other things that those cats unfortunately start to exhibit. So one of the things I decided to do is to develop a study where if I do one acupuncture treatment right when the cat enters the shelter, will it decrease its stress level and protect it from other infections and things like that? I actually don't know the outcomes yet because it's a double-blinded study. I'm not allowed to know the outcomes only because I don't want my personal bias to affect it. But when I do this, I have 3 points that I've been using. It's really interesting to see the cats. I'll put the first one in, I'll put the second one in, and I see them just starting to, within a couple minutes, just get more and more comfortable. From when they came out and they're looking around, they're trying to, I have to wrestle them, yes, to not lose them. And I've lost a couple, but when I start, they soften up, they snuggle with me, and that has been really interesting.
Just to see their demeanor change and know that you're helping them and calming them is got to be a good feeling for you.
It is.
Well, Dr. Loukia Agapis from the University of Illinois, it's been wonderful speaking to you today about veterinary acupuncture. I'm sure if anybody has any questions, you might welcome or a website that folks can go to.
They could actually contact me via the Shelter Medicine website. If they go online and just Google Shelter Medicine Illinois, they'll come up to our website and you'll see my email and a phone number, and
away they go.
Yes.
They can answer some questions. Well, thanks again for joining us for this episode
me,
of the Paul Report. And we'll be back with more right after this. If you're a veterinarian, trainer, groomer, specialist, rescue organization, or shelter that would like to partner with the Paul Report by providing expert guests for the show, please contact us by emailing weiu@weiu.net or call 217-581-5956. If you have a topic you'd like to see on the show or questions for our experts, contact us with those too. A farm in Brentwood, California is jumping on the goat yoga bandwagon. Leslie Brinkley has more in this Paul Report Extra.
Feel the sit bones connected to the earth.
It's a yoga class on a wooden platform in the fields of Brentwood's first-generation farms. And then they release the goats, 6 of them, to elevate this to a whole new level.
Curl your toes, push your hips up and back, downward dog.
8-week-old Cinnamon is on patrol here, surveying the yoga class, deciding who to snuggle with and who to just hang out with.
They make you smile, they just make you at peace, they just make you feel good, yeah.
Just a positive environment, just non-judgmental, just everybody's here just to experience it.
Snoopy the goat added to class by sniffing out socks and curiously checking out water bottles.
Everyone wants their picture and they just want to touch the goats and be acknowledged by the goats, and everyone's just really happy.
Acknowledgement is one thing, but Snoopy inspires the class when he jumps on people's stomachs and backs, and by his position can make you wonder if he's going to unload on someone. It's goat yoga after all.
They are animals, so if you get some poo or pee on you, it's a bonus blessing. So
Inhale tall, exhale, let your body sink in just a little bit more.
A blessing for Karina Thor, who turned out to be the goat whisperer in this class.
We went last Friday, and I had a blast, and so now
You're a goat yogi.
I'm a goat yogi now.
It's
and I
official.
practice yoga and goats, so what more could I ask for?
Yoga classes with these Nigerian dwarf goats are selling out, and the farm is thinking of adding more to the schedule.
We thought we would bring the joy of nature and the joy of yoga and kind of make them a lovely little harmony. And I think we've accomplished our goal.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Power Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com. Additional support for the Paw Report on WEIU is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.